everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Blues News podcast. On today's episode, I have Head of Commercial and Operations at Southend, 𝗲𝗏 𝗥𝗵𝘆𝗀. 𝗲𝗏 has worked at the club for coming up to 9 years and has seen the highs and lows of the club throughout his tenure. His role involves everything from matchday operations to overseeing maintenance of Roots Hall and Fossett's training facilities. His role also includes club secretarial duties and plays a key role in player contracts as well as overseeing the commercial department. His work is incredible, and I hope this podcast gives a great insight into what goes on behind the scenes of Southend. My first question is, what does your job at Southend entail?
You ready for this one? Yes, my role is now Commercial Operations Director. So effectively, I oversee commercial, so hospitality, sponsorship, advertising, ticketing, marketing, media. So we've got a team of 4 full-time in those positions. So I see it from a sort of a high level of that, and then get involved in that side of it. I also oversee the ground staff and maintenance. So that is for Roots Hall, Boots and Laces, and obviously Fossett's for when we move into there. And then I oversee the food and bev side of it on a match day and non-match day, so food and drink. And then also heavily involved in like the match day stewarding, security. And then another part of my role is I do all the club secretarial duties. So player contracts, travel, all that sort of stuff. So anything involved in first team, I'll oversee from an admin point of view as well. So effectively, pretty much everything top down across I oversee. And then work closely with Tom Lawrence to ensure, obviously, that we do what we need to do to keep this, to get the club operational and moving in the right direction.
Brilliant. I'll move on to the second question. How are you feeling after the deal is finally done?
Yeah, really good. It's exciting times now. So it was obviously everyone wanted it to be done a lot quicker than it was done. But obviously, we understand the reasons behind it, and it happened at the worst and best time, is what I've been saying to people, if I'm honest. Best time, obviously, just before the season started, so season card sales going through the roof, but because of the tight timescales, it meant we had a lot of work we needed to get done to ensure that we was open for that first game of the season on Saturday. And like I said, all staff mucked in, and that's probably the good thing about working here, is that everyone gets involved. No one sticks to their job spec. If someone said, can I see your job spec, or anyone's job spec, it won't include the work that everyone does. And everyone works together. Like on Friday, for example, there's quite a few of us here till 10 o'clock at night, making sure everything was done. And we've been doing long hours for the whole time. Obviously, we've got the new scoreboard. We've got different bits and pieces. We're working on a lot still to be done. There's still a lot to be done. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but we'll gradually make those changes. But, it's exciting. It is exciting. It's... Finally, we can see we can make changes that we want to make. Previously, we've had ideas, and for many different reasons we haven't been able to do anything. Whereas now we can push on with what we want to do, and day by day you're getting one step closer to where we want to be. Off the pitch, and obviously I think that will then correlate on the pitch as well. So no, it's good. It's exciting. It's just after that first game, it's now everyone sort of to sit back and plan and put together a strategy. We haven't been able to do a strategy before. We've never, in the last 4 or 5 years, you think of a strategy, of a business strategy, but we haven't been able to exercise it. We've been fighting fires, and then if some other stuff crops up, whereas now we can actually forward think and plan of what we want to do across all areas of the business, which is good. It's good. It's exciting, and just looking forward to now kicking on with it, really.
I think a lot of fans will be sharing your views on it's an exciting time, and you do have some questions about sort of the short-term and long-term plans for Southend. So what do you think of the short-term plans for Roots Hall and Southend in general?
Short-term plans, I think a big thing for us as a club is if you're talking from a match perspective, is that match day experience. So a big thing is the cleanliness of the stadium, and making sure the thing is making sure that when fans come here, they have a good experience and they want to come back. And especially the younger generation, obviously they're the future of the club. So we need to do like I said, obviously everything happens so quickly. We know there's still a few things to do, but we are looking to do anything we can. So whether it's tidying up the toilets, for example. Little bits and pieces, like even in like from Saturday's game just gone, like in the far post bar, we've got aircon in there now, which we didn't have previously. We're looking to put it in other areas. We changed the beer range across the whole stadium. So little bits and pieces like that, just to increase that fan engagement, fan experience on a match day. And then we've obviously got plans in the future for a fan zone, and bits and pieces like that. So it's just, I think for us at the moment, it's just, you don't want to run before you can walk. You want to get the key things done right. You don't want to do too much at once. And when a takeover happens, all these ideas come out of the woodwork, and it's like you have to take a step back, and then again, like I said, have that strategy in place. So right, what's our short term? What do we need to do quickly? And then what is our long term, and then plan it that way, rather than say, right, we're going to do 10 things at once. Let's do one thing at a time, but make sure we do them spot on. And gradually do it. And I think fans would understand that, if I'm honest, because obviously what we've been through over the years, it's like they know everything's not going to happen overnight. And we'd rather make sure we get everything done correctly and the best we can. And then it might take a couple of months longer if we done it all at once, but then you won't cut corners, which we have done previously. So yeah, I think for us, well, for me as well, is the main thing is just, and it's also just to bring the fans and the club back together, which has happened obviously due to the takeover, but do that even more. There's a much better vibe around the place. Like this game on Saturday, obviously the crowd we had 7,900 was excellent, and it's just basically keeping that momentum going and making sure we do that. We need to make sure we do everything we can off the pitch to the best of our ability, to be honest. And it's now sort of, it's just keeping our standards as high as they can be and just pushing on. And then I think fans would then understand that. Like once we've done a few bits, like I said, we've done a few bits around the stadium now, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop there because the first game of the season's happened. We'll then keep gradually doing more and more, and then fans will then see that, and that's what we're looking to do. So yeah, I think short term is, like I said, just work on what we know we need to get done and make sure we do it correctly.
I definitely think that's something the fans will notice, because obviously with the tifo that we had on Saturday was brilliant. Things like that. I also saw the sort of like mural, sort of like artwork on the lounge walls, little things like that. I spoke to a lot of fans and they love little things like that, because it just shows
so we'll be looking.
It just shows we're going in the right direction.
We'll be looking to do a lot more in some of like the corporate, but also the fan areas. But we don't want to just put anything up. We want to make sure that the history of the club is involved in everything that we do. So on the mural in the Blues Lounge, Riley liaised with Sweper on that, of the 4 players that he would recommend. So we want to obviously ensure that anything we do, obviously we've gone into a new era, but our history is the club, so that's what we want to make sure. So we'll be looking to do a bit more around the stadium on that. Obviously, little things, new scoreboard, which is excellent. That's a great, obviously we find at Senegal being excellent with that. So that's now up and running, and that's a good opportunity for us commercially to sell on there and increase our revenue. But also it's a good fan engagement tool, so we were looking at in the future. Now we've got it up and running, obviously we had the first game, but fans can be able to send in birthday messages with a picture, that sort of stuff. So we looked to increase the fan engagement. And we finally got the Frank Walton clock fixed as well. And we didn't have any broken clocks. You never knew. I always put my phone timer on when the time was put in. But it's little things, and we're doing a lot more. We've got a lot more done with. We're working with a lot of contractors now in terms of ensuring we keep the place tidy. So outside areas, inside the seat, so it won't be a case of it'll be a mad rush. We'll have people who come in once a month who will ensure that we keep all these areas tidy. Don't get me wrong, the stadium is amazing, I love Roots Hall, but it needs work, which obviously the consortium will look to do down the line. But as long as we can keep it tidy and clean, that's a big objective for us, because when people come in and it's a mess, and it's not acceptable, and we need to just push on. And like I said, we've done little bits already, and then we'll keep gradually doing more and more as the season goes on. Like I said, we haven't just stopped because the first game of the season's taking place. We've got a lot of plans, and in between games we'll gradually continue to make them improvements around the match day, which is good. So it's exciting. Yeah, that's brilliant, and I'm glad you fixed the clock, because my dad every single game gets to half 3, he's like, oh, the clock's working, and then a minute later, oh, it's not working. Every single game. So I thank you for just stopping and making that joke, to be honest. My third question is, what is the part you love most about your job? Ooh.
Difficult one.
That is a difficult one. The part I love most about my job? Probably the people you work with, if I'm honest. We obviously, I think we had COVID, and there was only like 2 of us that wasn't furloughed. So we didn't see like people. Like, a lot of people been here years. Like I'm 9 years this year in November, and there's other people who've been here 25 years. But like I said to you earlier, I think everyone mucks in, everyone gets together, and I think when we went through the hard times around no pay, etc., everyone came in every day. Still came in every day, and I think that brought everyone closer together. And we're not a big team. There's not a lot of us here. But you don't need. We're efficient with the size of people we've got, because, like I said, everyone gets on with it. If someone needs a hand, no one's saying no. And everyone pulls together. So I'd probably say, the people that you work with, and sort of the atmosphere around the place, regardless of anything that's going on. And for me, in my role, because it's so broad, every day's different.
Yeah.
Every day's different for me. One day I could be, in one day, for example, I could be outside, like especially at the start of the season, I could be outside doing what we need to do for our safety certificates, so like up a ladder with a hammer and whatnot. Yeah. And then within an hours later, I'm doing a player contract and we've got someone coming down to sign. So my day can change quite dramatically. But that's what I like. I like that side of it for me personally. I don't think I could do a single role. Yeah. And I always want to sort of like broaden out, like reach out, and then having all these different areas to look after tests me personally as well. From that perspective, so I think every day is different. So I probably would say though the people that you work with, it brings everyone sort of closer together, and everyone has a laugh and gets on with it, no matter how much under pressure we are, like we have been for the last 3 weeks. Yeah. The hours have been ridiculous, if I'm honest. I think a lot of us weren't getting out before 9 o'clock every night because of the work we had to do. But you're not doing it alone. There's other people, you end up having a laugh around it. And I think that side of it, and also from me personally, it'd be the amount of areas that I sort of oversee. It does mean every day is different. Like I could come in, have my whole schedule planned for the day, and that within 10 minutes is completely thrown out the window. So it's a challenge, it's a test. But I don't mind that, I quite like that. But so like moving forward now, obviously it's the challenges and the tests are a positive one rather than what it was like previously. Which makes it even more enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that sort of community spirit and stuff has definitely shown to fans. I mean, even though we don't see what happens behind the scenes, we can all tell how hard you're working and things. And that's brilliant. A question, because I interviewed Jason Brown from the consortium recently as well. A question I asked him was there ever a time where you thought Southend wouldn't be a club anymore? I don't have that written down, but I think that'd be an interesting one to ask you as well.
You know what? There was times when you looked at it and thought, but we always seem to get through it. It's one of them ones where you might, if you looked at it on paper, and from what you hear, you're thinking, blimey, we're close here, we're like down to the wire. But we always seem to get through it. Like obviously yesterday we had the National League hearing results from the bond came out, didn't it? And I think that's a key example of you expect it to be done and dusted or game over, but we always seem to find a way.
Was that a real concern?
I think that's what.
Was the bond a real concern? Was that a big problem?
I think it was. Because it sort of came from nowhere. Didn't expect it. And then when you sort of see them figures of like £1 million, for example, you're thinking, bloody hell, that's a lump. But I think that was probably the time where I thought, blimey, here we go. This is like, because the deal was so close to being completed, and then you had that as well. But I don't think it'd be Southend United if we didn't push it to the wire, if I'm honest. That we have done so many times in court. But I think those struggles and those concerns will make this new era, we call it, even better and even more enjoyable, because we've been that close to the wire. Whereas now we can be a professional football club, how we should be. And as I said, there's still a lot of work. Like we know full well there's so much work that needs to be done. And it's like we're nowhere near where we need to be, nowhere near across the whole business. We know that, but at least, like I said earlier, we can now put a strategy in place to get there. Whereas beforehand, we just wanted to still be a football club. Whereas now we are a football club, and now we can push on to be even better.
Yeah.
And I think that will make this, for everyone, fans, staff, players, the community, I think that will make it even more enjoyable now because of what we've gone through. It's not a case of we've been okay and then we've been taken over. We've gone through shit, if I'm being honest. And now we can push on, and then we can all, like, it's galvanised everywhere. Like, the amount of sponsors that we've worked with previously that have want to be involved. We've had so many people and businesses that have helped us, even fans who have helped us to get the stadium ready, and staff members' families have been helping us, who are handymen. There's that sort of community spirit back again now, which will then make us even stronger as we look to push on. So no, I think there's probably a couple of times I was a bit like, oh god, here we go. But it's typical Southend fashion. We leave it to the last minute, and then we managed to get through it. There was a few times, but it wouldn't be us if it didn't get that close, if I'm honest.
So I've also got, well, we've touched on it quite a lot, to be honest, but how difficult has work been behind the scenes in the past few years?
Yeah, it's been difficult, but it's also been, I'd probably say, frustrating. So the frustration of it is, I'd say that we all knew what we wanted to do across all areas of the business, but like I said earlier, we wasn't able to do that. And I get that fans would then say, oh, why is this, why are you not doing this, why are you not doing that? And I think that's probably the biggest frustration, is because it's not like we didn't know or we didn't want to do it. We couldn't. And it was, like I said, we put a strategy in place, and that just went, because you're fighting fires, you've had your water turned off at the training grounds, so you've got to come up with a plan B for that. You've got bailiffs turning up, and you're not doing enjoyable work, I call it. You're just you're pushing water uphill constantly, and you're dealing with like when we had the embargo, and then the issues around having to sign players with the embargo and all that sort of stuff. So it was frustrating more than anything. It was tough, mentally, like for everyone. I think on a personal level as well as a professional level. I think everyone had to go through a lot, especially around the no pay situation and the stresses and strains of that. But still, we're coming in every day to get on with it. It was hard. But like I said, I think it brought everyone closer together. But yeah, I think the frustration was probably the biggest part of it, because we knew what we could do, we knew what we wanted to do, but we couldn't. Whereas now we've got the opportunity to do that. And we have already started implementing that new scoreboard, like I said, the new beer offering in the stadium, and other bits and pieces we'll do now to kick on. But like I said, it will just take time. But yeah, it's probably frustration was the biggest part, I'd say, over the 2 years, knowing what we wanted to do and could do, but physically couldn't.
I think the frustration definitely with fans as well. A lot of fans were definitely frustrated, myself included, when it's like, you know, you think it's going to go through this week and then it doesn't, and it's like, oh, you think it's going to be this week and it doesn't. It's like, just felt like a constant like carousel of just frustration.
And I think that's been because it was so dragged out, and there was obviously the reasons behind that. That's fine, and I don't know the ins and outs of that, but when the deal is agreed in December, for example, and hedge terms are agreed and whatnot, you expect it to then happen within the next month or so, or October, whenever it was, the next month or so, and then when you get to July and it goes through, it's like you're just sort of sitting there waiting for it to happen. So, you know, as soon as that happens, the green light goes in and you can get on with it, which is why I said it was the worst and best time, because best time season card sales, but for us to have 3 weeks to sell season cards is a timescale that we did not want, because there's so much work that goes into it. Luckily, our ticketing partner, 𝗙𝗧𝗏, are excellent in terms of their online system. It's the first year in 3 years that a fan could buy or renew their season card online. It's crazy. Like before, I was having to print A1 spreadsheets with everyone's names on. Then obviously, there's human error naturally. So actually, there are things like that. So we're streamlining all of our processes to make us, again, for that fan experience, not from when they're here at the game, but it's from before they even arrive. Like, what can we do to make that journey from buying a ticket or buying a season card to then getting to the stadium, to then leaving the stadium? It's that whole process that we are trying to ensure is correct, and little things like that is working. But we were just waiting for that green light to then kick on with stuff. And don't get me wrong, we kicked on with a lot of things before. A lot of things we kicked on with before, and we just took that risk. But then as soon as that green light hit, that's when we could push forward with what we need to do around the stadium and off the pitch in terms of like commercial and operational business. But yeah, it was just that frustration of waiting for it to happen.
How have things changed in the short period of time Cosu have been in charge? Whether that's off the field or...
Probably going back to what I've just said there, really. So like being able to kick on with the plans we have.
Yep.
And being able to do what we want to do across. Like I said, we've always had the ideas. We just haven't had the go ahead to get it done.
Yeah.
There's a better atmosphere around the place because we can do what we wanted to do. And I think, I'm not being funny, when things are going in the right direction, naturally the mood is going to lift.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I think people were then feeling a bit more relaxed because we can get on with things and run how we want to, and also I think it's the positivity, not just internally but externally. Like the media guys, for example, when we was going through what we was going through, like they probably had the worst job ever sitting on social media because they could put anything out and it's going to get negativity naturally. But I think people forget sometimes that it's not Ron sitting behind that Twitter account. It's two staff members who are probably as frustrated as anyone, and the same as everyone else. So I think it's the positivity externally has been a huge lift, especially, like I said, we've had, if I'm honest, mate, it's probably the first time in years that we've had waiting lists for things commercially. Like normally me and Riley are rushing out to sponsors and trying to do deals just to get some income, whereas actually we're having to say, I'm really sorry, but that's been sold now. We've got people coming to us. It's the Monday after that deal happened on the Friday, I don't think that phone stops in our office, and that hasn't happened. Like, so it's that positivity externally, which then obviously naturally like gravitates internally as well, and it just lifts everyone. You're having good conversations with people. You're not apologising to someone because you haven't paid them when you said you would, and you're actually having good conversations with people, and it's that positive energy around the place, like internally and with fans and sponsors and stakeholders and whatnot. So that's probably been the biggest thing. It's just that lifting mood has probably been the big key factor. And they're all good guys. I haven't met all of them, but the majority. But they're all good guys. Like when you see them on a match day, all welcoming, and it's that sort of tightness, I suppose, like that. Like I mentioned before, that close knit group. And they want to be like part of that, and like the way they interact with supporters, etc., on a match day, and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, it's probably just the whole. I'd probably say the whole positivity around the place, externally and internally, has probably been the biggest noticeable change that's about I've seen.
Yeah, I think a difference that fans have noticed is communication with the fans, because I think before where things were quite secretive and. I think now with Cosu, they've sort of interacted with the fans more. I think fans have definitely noticed that. Is that something that is definitely at the heart of what you want to do moving forwards? Yeah,
definitely. I think that is the case. If I'm honest as well, I think as a club, we wanted to communicate more, but haven't been able to. So I think that's another thing as well. Like we will probably do that. Look, you've got to keep it at arm's length. You can't give everything out, if I'm honest. But the communication is a big thing for us. Obviously, we're looking at down the line a fan advisory board. So we're looking at setting up a fan advisory board. So they'll go through the interview process with that. We'll probably promote that shortly, I'd imagine. We're working on a few things behind the scenes. So again, bits and pieces like that. It's just creating that governance structure, which we haven't had properly for a long time. And again, having fans involved in the redevelopment of Roots Hall and getting their views, and like I said, when we linked in with 𝗥𝗵𝘆𝘀 to do the blues lounge of the players. Like we're not just saying right, let's put him and him on the wall. It's like right, let's engage people who are part of the 𝗥𝗵𝘆𝘀 Association and take their view on things. So it's having that sort of working relationship. We don't want to just be like a statement, like throw out a statement, and if you like it or don't like it, that's it. We want to interact with supporters and get their views on bits and pieces as well. So that fan advisory board will be key for us. And look, how I see it is anything it could be, if we do something, if we have involvement from supporters on it, then 70% will be happy with it, rather than doing something without asking anyone and then you announce it and they're like, oh my God, what is this? And you're like, oh, we've messed up here. if you involve people in the process from the beginning, like not from the beginning, and have their input the whole way along, you're already on the right path to making sure what you're doing is right for everyone as a club and supporters. And it's that you'll have that discussion, we'll call it, but it'll be a constructive discussion in terms of yes or no, should we do that, should we do that, and as long as it's constructive and you get to a final point that everyone's happy with, I think that's the key. So yeah, I think communication will be big for us moving forward, and involving fans in those conversations. But again, it goes back to that positivity, because there's that positivity now. You can involve supporters in those discussions, whereas previously you wasn't able to. So that whole positive outlook now that's coming on will help us across the club on a lot of levels.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because when I spoke to Justin, a big thing that he was constantly wanting to make sure that it was known that it's not just him who's doing all the work, because obviously, it's easy when he comes in, he's leading the consortium and things. A lot of fans think Justin Rees, but he was, whenever I spoke to him, he was constantly like, you should involve the other Cosu members and try and, it was really nice to see, really, that he's not trying to take all the spotlight or something, and I knew he wouldn't, but it's just, it was really good to see.
Yeah, and the good thing as well, because there's so many of them, but they've all got different skill sets.
Yeah.
They've all been successful in their own line of work. So when you've got people with that many different skill sets, it'll all come together as one.
Yep.
Which is really good. Like the backgrounds of them always completely different, but then that will help the club tenfold in the future. So that they've picked the board and the consortium very well in terms of skill sets and what they can offer to the club moving forward.
Yep, and they're all Southend fans as well, aren't they? So I think that's a really big thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really important.
Yeah, it is.
You get that fan input even from the board now. So it's great.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, we touched on it again a little bit, but how do you think things have changed from 8 years ago when you joined to now?
Oh, blimey.
Well, coming up to 9 actually.
Yeah, coming up to 9, blimey. Yeah, so I joined in 2015. I was in League One when I joined. I'd probably say there's been a lot of staff changes naturally that happens, and obviously with the relegations, obviously there's the staff in tightens, it shrinks, but I don't see that as a negative. I think that as it's actually benefited us in a way. Probably people are stretched. We probably do need to add a few more bodies at some point with what we're looking to do moving forward. And people are stretched, but like I said, I think it goes back to that camaraderie around the place. People have been through it. Like there's a lot of staff here have been here a long time, and they've been through those relegations and the ups and downs and whatnot. So I think, but I wouldn't say a lot has changed. I wouldn't say a lot's changed. My role's changed dramatically, but from a personal level. Because when I first started, I was marketing manager. So I started off in marketing and then moved into sort of like commercial, and then obviously moved into the operations side of things. So I've had a broader scale of the business and oversight. I wouldn't say a huge amount has changed in the sense of, but again, it goes back to like back then in League One, we could do a lot more.
Yeah.
Like marketing, like we had a marketing, like I had a marketing, we had a media person, so we could do a lot more in terms of outreach and there wasn't as much negativity around then, and then obviously that then, like I said, that then tightened and we couldn't do as much as we wanted to do. But in terms of changed, I wouldn't say a lot has, if I'm honest, mate. I'd probably say the changes are now. That's when the changes are happening. You know, since probably the turn of this year, obviously with like the D2 Lounge. Being done up and what we're doing in terms of commercial and just changing bits and pieces, and I don't think a huge amount of change. It's probably, like I said, it's probably I'd imagine, if I'm honest, I'd probably say more has changed in this turn of the year than it did in the 8 years previous.
Wow.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I think people have just got the group has got tighter naturally because of what we've gone through, staff wise, and sort of brought everyone closer together. And it's then allowed everyone to sort of like make sure like kick on with bits and pieces, and everyone pulling in the same direction I think is the key thing for us moving forward. We need everyone to be going in the right direction and making sure that we get that end goal, whatever that end goal is, get to that end goal. But probably not a lot. Personally, it has. Personally, it's changed a huge amount. But like I said to you earlier, I can't just do. Each day I like to have something. It needs to be different. I can't just stick to one role. I end up getting bored in that sense. And like I said, I could be up on a ladder smashing something to pieces to get through our safety certificate, and then an hour later I'm signing a player. But there's a lot we're looking to improve. Another big thing actually we're looking to improve is, which is a huge job, which I'm in the throes of at the moment, is our IT infrastructure. Right. So a big thing for us is our IT infrastructure. With the amount of fans people coming through the door, all of our new ticket system is based on scanners. Yeah. And from an operational point of view, in terms of a safety point of view of knowing how many people are in here, that's a big thing. And then also that infrastructure then operates across bars, kiosks, etc. So speeding up the process of supporters buying a pint or getting a burger. And then further down the line, when we start redeveloping, we'll look to be putting in like fan Wi-Fi, all that sort of stuff. So we've got all these plans moving forward that we're looking to do. So fans can have Wi-Fi when we redevelop. So it's little things like that which are probably behind the scenes that no one really knows or thinks about. But for us, operationally as a business, it's probably a huge thing for us. Actually, it's probably one of my biggest tasks at the moment is getting that network infrastructure in the right position that it needs to be from a working perspective for staff, but then also from I go back to it, a fan experience perspective as well. I think we'll see the biggest changes this calendar and next calendar year, if I'm honest, since I've been here.
Oh yeah, that's amazing, really. That so much can change in such little time, and so much can't change in such big time. Yeah.
I've not since the season finished. I've had 2 days off.
2 days off. Wow.
I've had 2 days off since last season finished. I normally have a holiday. I've not had a holiday. Honestly, since April 20th, I've had 2 days off. Yeah. It's just full throttle, but it's positive full throttle. It's good. It's hard work. But like I said, now we've got the routine of fixtures and stuff. We can work around what we need to do stadium-wise and infrastructure-wise, and work around the fixtures to get it done. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot more to be done. We're not just stopping now because the takeover's done and the season started. Like, we'll continue throughout the whole year on and off the pitch. Yeah. To improve across the whole, like the new training ground, for example, like that's coming along really well. So anything like so the players have that elite facility, whether that be training, matches, equipment, anything. Like at the end of the day, them winning matches benefits us across the whole business. So we need to ensure that anything we do is for them is to the high standard it needs to be. So that's a big thing. And then we need to keep them standards off the pitch in terms of commercial, marketing, media, ticketing. So it's just setting them standards, just lifting those standards and then keeping to them standards or pushing above them. Yeah, that's probably our key target for this year.
So I've got two more one is very short and one shorter question. We've spoken about a lot of like broad sort of general topics, obviously plans for the future, your job and things. But one quite specific question I have, I don't know if you would be able to add to it, but it'd be what was the thinking behind changing the away kit from yellow to red?
I think so. Obviously, the yellow's been very popular over the years, because we've gone for a retro remake. I can't remember what year. It might have been the BB kit. I can't remember what it was. But I think sometimes, from a commercial point of view, if you keep having yellow, there's only so many yellow kits you can design in a consistent pit in a row, and there wasn't a reason behind it. I think we just wanted to do something a little bit different, and obviously like we've done with the home kit, we've like gradually over the last couple of years dropped in the yellow back into it. Yeah. And that was a big thing for us, getting rid of just like the navy and white. We wanted to put that yellow back into it. I'm like looking at the pitch now, like you've got SUFC in the West Stand, and obviously the S's are in yellow, and we've always had yellow. Previously, it was obviously a lighter shade of blue, but there wasn't a reason behind it as such. I think we just obviously had yellow for must be like the last 4 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. Last 3 seasons, yeah, because our first season National League we had navy, didn't we? And then we had white and light blue away. So last 3 seasons. So I think it was just to be honest, mate, there wasn't naturally a reason behind it. I think it was just changing up a little bit. Like, we've got a fur kit that's all done. That'll probably come out end of September. Because at some point, I think early October, we'll have to wear it.
Yeah.
Because of the navy and red, when you play like the likes of Aldershot, Dagenham, we can't wear either kit. I don't know if you saw the kit clash between Truro and
Oh,
Dalton
that was shocking. Yeah. I don't know how that happened,
and
really.
the fact they had to turn their shirt inside out. So like, it wouldn't be that bad as a kit clash, don't get me wrong, but at some point we're going to have to wear the fur kit, so we'll look to launch that.
Yep.
Probably at the end, and that is different to like the pink that we normally go for example.
Okay.
So I think it's probably just changing it up a little bit. We'll go back to yellow at some point, don't get me wrong, but I think it was just going to, and we used to have red a lot. I remember, obviously, like, you got the beaver kits, but I remember when we was in the championship, when we had the Ensure and Go, we had the navy, the red away kit, and then we had a white and light blue fur kit. So we've had red quite a lot of years. It was quite back in time, but I think it was just adding to a bit of a retro shirt to it. And yeah, we just went for the colour red instead, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if there was the reason I asked the question as well was I was wondering because the start of a new era, and that's been quite a big thing that others said quite a lot at the beginning of a new era. I was wondering if it maybe signified a change or if it was just to switch away from yellow. Really.
It wasn't. It probably wasn't in the thought process at the time, because the thing with when you do kits, the problem. Well, it's not a problem, but any kit provider you work with, you actually have to sign kits off in January.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It starts. Yeah, because our shirt is then they're not off the shelf. So because we've designed it ourselves, they then have to get them made wherever they get them made. We have to go through the design process, and then we have to get them shipped. And so we actually have to sign kits off in January.
Oh wow.
So it's it's a lot early. It's really early. In that's the problem we have. You can probably squeeze it to February sometimes, but yes, we have to do that really early. But there wasn't really. I think we looked at a few designs, and there was a couple of yellow, and then there was a couple of other different colours, and I think we thought, you know what, let's change it up a little bit. And to be fair, the kits have gone down really well. But again, I think a brand like 𝗖𝗎𝗍 signifies where we're looking to go with a company of that size. And then also like the kit launch video again is another it's another showcase of what we, again, like I said previously, wanting to do things but not being able to. So it's now the media marketing team are able to show their worth in a way because their hands aren't tied. And I think, to be honest, I think that kit launch video was quite a key thing for me in terms of showing the direction that we want to go as a club. And the work that we're willing, the work that we can do internally. Again, and like I said, it's them standards and keeps them standards. And I think I thought that video was excellent. Work closely with Cosu and also Circuit Creative on that video, but I think that sort of was a key point to show where we want to get to across the board. There wasn't probably and the kits have gone down really well. We sold over 800 in the first day of sales. Which was, and season cards again, for example, which just shows like we're up to I think 4,300. Last year we had 3,200. And out of that, there's probably about 1,200 new season card holders. And I remember doing some stats. At the time, must have been about 2 weeks ago. So I think it was 1,200 at the time were new. Out of that 1,200, 400 didn't even attend one game last season. Figures like that is crazy. Is crazy. So 400 didn't even attend one game. So it just shows. Yeah, I know it's mad. Isn't
that
it?
is mental. Wow.
Yeah, that's the positive of our ticketing system and what we can do, and with it and the data that we can draw down on. Yeah, so out of that's probably increased now actually. But yeah, 400 didn't even attend one match last season at Root Hall, but have now bought a season card. So it goes back to that positivity externally and internally, and we need to grasp that and make the most of it, but do it in the right way. And like I said, not do 10 things at once and do them badly. Make sure everything we want to do, we do it in the right way and how it should be, and not rushed. I think that is a key thing. And I get a lot of fans understand that. A lot of fans want everything done yesterday. Naturally, I get that. But we want to make sure everything we do it to the standard that it should be, and not cut corners like we have done previously. But having 400 people who didn't even come to one game last year buying a season card is, it was crazy stats.
Yeah.
Crazy stats.
That is crazy, but I mean, obviously, you won't know the exact reason, but would you think maybe the reason was for that, or what does that reflect?
I think it's probably again, I've said it quite a lot, but the frustration.
Yeah.
People haven't been frustrated about the club situation at the time, and probably out of protest, not attending or not being interested because of the situation. And then obviously when that frustration's then gone, because don't get me wrong, even if they didn't attend, they probably missed it.
Yeah.
Because you would naturally, but when that frustration's then gone, it's then being part of that, as we said, that new era, that journey, and seeing it from the offset. Like there's a lot of people on Saturday, because I used to be a season card holder years ago before I started working here, and there's a lot of people on Saturday that I hadn't seen for a long time, but saw them at the game Saturday. So it's a lot of people I know didn't have a season card will then buying one.
Yeah.
So it's that positivity again, and I think when that frustration's gone, it's then wanting to be part of it and enjoying it and wanting to put their money into the football club. But yeah, that I'll actually what I'll do, I'll get the final figure on that number. But it was, I think it was like 397 when I last spoke to that ticketing company. But that's, it's crazy.
That is shocking, I didn't expect that. I've really only got one last question, and if you've read the other Q&As, I imagine you might know what it is. So who do you think I should Q&A next?
Ooh, I've put people in this one. Who's going to do a Q&A with next?
Because I've done, I can tell you some of the ones I've done already. So I've done...
Yeah, so you've got Justin, Jason.
Yep. David Martin, obviously he's not here anymore, but did one with Dave Martin. I've got one with Josh Walker coming up. Jason Brown. I've got John Watson. He'll be one that I'm Q&Aing soon. So I'm sort of following that Cosu line in that sense. So I imagine John Watson will request someone else from Cosu. So
staffing wise, you've got it's whether they want to do it. People like to stay quiet, but you've got there's so many great people that work here. You've got 𝗥𝗵𝘆𝘀. He's been here over 30 years. He's done he's 30 years this year. Done his apprenticeship here and hasn't left, and he's managing 3 pitches at the moment. And again, he's doing it under the constraints that no one would believe, like borrowing equipment and lawnmowers, etc. So I would say him. He probably, I don't know if he'll do it or not, but I'll probably say Chris Ball, just to I'll probably say to understand the level of work. He's out there now actually with a guy looking at fertilizer and stuff, but the level of work and the constraints that he's put under for his role, but still manages to do what he does. I'd probably say him personally.
No, that's a great suggestion. A lot of history there as well.
Yeah, and I also think when I go back to the frustration is, like you said, I don't think a lot of people understand what goes on behind the scenes and what people are up against. And it's easy to come to a game and sit in your seat and say, oh, bloody hell, the pitch looks shit. But you don't understand what's gone on or what he's had to go through while looking after 3 pitches and not having the right equipment. And again, it goes back to kicking on now. So we're already in the process of getting the right equipment. We bought another new lawnmower the other day, and there's all these sort of bits and pieces that, again, making sure standards are kept to the level we need them to be. But look, you've got to give all staff the tools they need. You can't say to someone that needs to be perfect if they've got something if they're using equipment that isn't anywhere near that standard, because it's not possible. They're not a genius. They're not a magician. It's not going to happen. So if you want that perfection or close to perfection, you need to give them the tools they require to ensure they get to that level.
Definitely.
Which is, we weren't able to do that before, whereas now we're going into that direction. So, but I think he would be, like I said, 30 years, started his apprenticeship here. He's been here he was 30 years in May. So I don't be funny. He started when he was 16.
Wow.
So he's spent his whole working career at Southend United. And you think over them 30 years what he's seen, and the players he's come across, the managers and levels and the changes, and because obviously we would have had the North Bank, would have been terracing and all those bits and pieces that he's seen over the years, and the level of detail that his work is, and probably over the years the constraints he's had, and you tell him he's getting a new lawnmower, honestly, it's like he's a kid at Christmas. But because of the frustration he's had of not being able to have anything and working with poor quality machinery. Like, some of the machinery you have, you wouldn't even give to a Sunday league team.
Wow.
It's been that bad, and you're always patching it up. Whereas now he's like moving forward, he can get what he needs, and but yeah, probably the history of him being here 30 years.
Yeah.
And then also at the moment the frustration with the free pitches he's having to look after.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he'll be good. Whether he'll do it or not, I'll be honest, man, I don't know. But
Okay.
I'd like him to do it. I'm his boss, so I'll tell him to do it anyway. Because it would be interesting, and I think,
Yeah.
like I said, like someone's role, like my role, for example, is like it's an overview of the business. It's you sort of know what bits and pieces are. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, but as someone, a role like that is a very niche role.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting one. Like, it's only been the last year or so I've sort of been overseeing the ground staff, and you're learning every day. Like, I go down there and I'm sitting there with him talking about fertiliser, and I'm like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, it's like I said, it's that learning, it's that enjoyment, and like that's his bag. And yeah, like I said, the 30 years he's been here, what he would have seen over those 30 years, and probably a bit more insight into what he does. I think that'd be a good one. Again, it takes you away from the admin side of the business. So like you've got the Cosu law, and obviously doing player side of it, and then obviously spoken to myself, and I think putting that's a key pillar of of the football club, isn't it? The pitch.
Yeah, definitely.
And not just what people see on a Saturday, but it's what they have in Monday to Friday as well. Yeah, I think I'll go Chris Ball, 𝗥𝗵𝘆𝘀 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝗵𝗵.
Perfect. Yeah.
Service, he'll be my man.
No, I think that's a great suggestion. And if he's been here 30 years, he probably would have been here before Ron Martin then, because I think Martin came in 98, 2000.
Yeah, he was Dick Jobson.
Yeah. Wow. So that'll be interesting seeing how everything's changed. He's seen 3 sets of ownership now. So obviously, Cosu have only been in not too long now, a month or two. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think he's the longest serving staff member that's still here. You've got him, and then you've got Sharon, who works she's our bar manager and licensee. I think she's 27 years.
Wow.
And Linda, who's a chef, has been here 25. So they're our 3 stalwarts and 3. They've seen it all.
That's it for today's podcast. Hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. There'll be a lot more of these coming soon.